Network of awareness makes your brain coherent. One of the fastest growing podcasts. You can hear it 24/7. You got listeners out in London, informationalists in Paris. The echo spreading out, no parrot. Just dissect, digest, and share it. The righteous rhymes hit the spirit. Click 90 times, it won't perish. Cause y'all's the mind ain't no fairy tale like the belly our parents. It's time to rise, don't get weary. United minds, it's apparent. Download every single errand, but most ain't fit to catch it, even if they were Larry. Interviews, the interludes, they enter you, taking you on a journey like no other. It places you in a state of awareness. It's your fault if you hate the truth, cause Yahweh been Yahweh's on his way, my brother. Better change your views. All praise, yeah.
We live in a world ruled by tyranny, where knowledge is suppressed and ignorance is glorified. A world where propaganda and misinformation travel the airways at the speed of lies. But in the midst of the violence and chaos, a great awakening is taking place. And as the media empires continue to collapse, a new network is forming. A network of truth, a network of courage, a network of awareness. Peace and greetings. You are now tuned into the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, where we examine current events, politics, health, finance, and topics of cultural relevance in America and throughout the world, while bringing you insightful interviews with guests that will both educate and inspire you. And now, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, ORRA the Informationalist.
Please just tell me what's happening to me in plain English without the non-style jump.
My ORRA is a network full of awareness and gifts like ORRA the Informationalist.
How you doing?
Yes, peace and greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world. This is ORRA the Informationalist, and you're now tuned in to a live broadcast of the Network of Awareness. And in this Legacy of Lies series, this is an installment of Legacy of Lies series, and I have none other than Ken Attard, and this is called Why Are You Not Thinking? So, Ken, welcome to the show. Long time coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks. And I really appreciate you having me. And like you said, it has been a while since it's taken a while for us to finally actually get here.
Absolutely. And just to add some context to what this show is about, for those that don't know and may know, Ken is a mind consultant, right? So just to give you a little history on Ken, he, after successfully working with various clients in a span of 15 years, he specializes as a mindset consultant, specifically helping frustrated entrepreneurs to adapt and pivot using his proprietary ARC method, allowing them to have more free time, guaranteed, and helping you shift your mindset to create the results that you desire. Without a doubt, it says without a doubt, one of his biggest passions in life. And it says Ken brings to the stage his personal experience, not only as a mindset consultant, but also as an entrepreneur, father, and human being like the rest of this planet. So, Ken, you are originally from, is it Ontario, Canada, or?
That's right. Originally from Toronto, Ontario. That's right.
Okay, from Toronto, Ontario. But where do you live now? Let the listeners know, because you're in a very unique place now.
Well, as the name Mindset Malta, I'm bang in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea on a small island called Malta. When I say small, the island is about 120 square miles in total.
Now, what is a man from Canada doing in a small island in the middle of the world? Like, what brought you to Malta?
Well, really, quite simply put, both my parents are Maltese. In the 60s, they immigrated to Canada, spent 16 years there. And I truly believe, I think my dad decided and said, you know what, I really want to go back to where the sun shines 300 days a year.
Oh, really?
And yeah, absolutely. Like, we've got phenomenal weather here. And so I think he just decided he wanted to head back. I was still 14 at the time. So I wasn't going to stay behind on my own. and I've been here ever since. So I like to say that I'm still here essentially because I truly do love it here. I think it is a wonderful place of the world. I was just out this morning, just filming a couple of pieces of content for social media, and I was out and I'm still marveled, and I go, oh my God, the sun was shining. I got the sea behind me, beautiful blue sea. I just think it's an amazing place to live. And like, and as much as it's an amazing place to live, does it have its, let's say, drawbacks sometimes, or things that, and yeah, absolutely. And I truly believe that it's up to the individual to just to tie into what potentially we're going to talk about as well. I think it ties in nicely, because I get a lot of people ask me, so where do you prefer? Would you prefer Malta or do you prefer Canada? And I'm like, well, first of all, I was not an independent adult when I was living in Canada, as I've never lived as an independent adult in Canada, so I can't really compare. I can't say that. Yet I truly believe that it's what you make of it. Ultimately, there are people who will move from one place to another and be miserable anywhere they go. And then you have the person who will move from one place to another and be absolutely in bliss wherever they go. So I truly believe it is up to the individual. At the same time, I really think Malta is a special place as well. And that's how I find myself here. Been here for, I think, going on to 44, 45 years now.
Interesting. Okay. Now, let's get to the core of the work that you do. First, What is it that you consider to be, or what do you define as mindset?
So very simply put, and this is what I'm all about as well, is making things really simple and easy. I truly believe that sometimes people tend to overcomplicate things. Simply put, for me, mindset is really having an awareness of, first of all, how your mind works and how the thinking process works. More than anything, understanding that every thought that you have is having an effect on the results and the experiences that you are having in your life. And starting off, firstly, with having that awareness. I truly believe there are many entrepreneurs out there, many individuals. Although I work with entrepreneurs, what I teach, any individual can benefit from it. Not having the awareness. There are many out there just living a life where it's quite haphazard, in the sense that, one day is a good day, one day's not such a good day. And, and you hear things like, what life is throwing at you, and, life getting in the way, and these types of things that people have been taught, people have learned. Yet it's not life getting in the way. It's sometimes just not having that awareness that the way you are thinking, what you are thinking, is having an effect on everything that's happening all around you. So in a nutshell, that is the way I look at mindset.
Now, what do you think about how people are thinking these days?
how people are thinking these days. One of my pet peeves is this especially when it comes to entrepreneurs. One of my pet peeves is that for the most part, entrepreneurs have been taught, about the struggle, about the sacrifice, about the suffering, about the fact that, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you're never going to have time for anything else in your life. And in all honesty, most entrepreneurs are taught that. They're taught about, how important it is to really take that action, and not only action. And then on top of that, we throw the word massive. So, massive action needs to be taken. And again, I'm not denying any of these things, but my pet peeve is this though, just because you've been taught that as an entrepreneur, you need to suffer and that you need to struggle, and, then it's going to be, sacrifice. Just because you have been taught that doesn't necessarily mean that that is the truth. And one of the things you start to learn when it comes to mindset as well is that ultimately, like I said, your thoughts are having an effect on the results, the experiences that you're having in your life. Now, you have control over your thoughts for the most part. Now, those thoughts are tied in with your beliefs, and where are those beliefs coming from? And yes, you've got some, let's say, potentially some unconscious programs running because that's how you have been programmed. Right. Programmed, you might say, how have I been programmed? Well, programmed by your parents, programmed by your teachers, programmed by the people you surround yourself with, programmed by what you are feeding your mind on a consistent basis. And especially when you were very young, between the ages of 0 and 7, there were a lot of programs that were installed, and not necessarily maliciously or anything like that. For the most part, most parents have, very good intentions. Yet remember, and I'm a parent as well, and I understand. I look back and I go, didn't quite get that one right. But I look back and I see, because essentially, I'm passing on as a parent. I'm potentially passing on what I believe is what I know and what I believe is best for my child. But that's only what I know. Right. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's one that, like I said, the truth, or necessarily mean that it's the best. Who's to say that my daughter isn't going to come up with an even better idea? Yet, this is the part that is really important, because like you said, you mentioned in the beginning, a lot of people really aren't thinking.
That is true.
Most people, most people, they might think they're thinking, but in actual fact, they're not actually thinking. What's happening many times is they're simply reacting. And what do I mean by that is, they're just reacting, so that anytime they find themselves in a particular situation, circumstance, whatever that may be, they tend to respond, not even respond. Let me use the word react. They react in the same way they've always reacted. So, for example, just to give a really simple example that people can relate with, is that, if you've been taught that that you've always, 1 second, please.
DHL is down.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So, sorry, pardon me about getting interrupted. So, 1 second, please. 1 second, please. Hold on. Give me just 1 second here. My apologies. 100%. Just give me 1 second here. 1 second here. Super apologetic for that.
That's all right.
Things that happen. So anyway, DHL decided to arrive. Let me be really open here. DHL decided to arrive, and someone was trying to inform me that DHL arrived. So what I was saying was, people are only reacting. They're reacting in a way that the way they've always reacted. So someone has decided that, or learned that, when they get angry, they need to yell. When they get angry, they need to yell. So every time they get angry, they find themselves yelling. So essentially, they're only reacting. Yet if they were actually thinking, they might take a moment, step back, and say, okay, how could I respond in a different way? Because essentially, that yelling isn't necessarily getting them the result that they want. is not necessarily getting them the result that they want. So this is what is really important. And this is where mindset comes in, because you start to open up and start to see that there are other possibilities. So this is what's vitally, vitally important, is that now, you're thinking and you're actually, and this is why it's important. I say, take a step back. Literally, sometimes you just need to take a step back, take that extra split second before you react and recognize, hey, I can respond in a completely different way here and potentially get a different result. Yet, like I said, a lot of people have just simply been programmed and been told, and learned that, hey, you know what, this is the way to do it. And they're not open. And this is where awareness comes in, because again, I want to let people off the hook here. If that's the way you've been taught and you believe that's the truth and that's the way to go about things, then that's your truth. I can't take that away from you. Until you decide to be open enough. A really important lesson that I learned when it came to coaching and consulting was that I can't help someone who's not asking me for help.
Right.
A lot of people, potentially say they want help, but they don't actually ask for it because they're used to their ways. They're used to the way they've done things. They think that the way they're doing things is the best way for them to do it. And sometimes they're not open to learning. They're just not ready for that. And that's okay too, because everyone is on their individual path. I truly believe that each and every one of us is on our individual path. We're on that path for particular reasons. There are lessons to be learned or not. That's totally up to the individual. So this is where it comes into with the thinking process, because when you actually start to learn to think, and to realize and start to think about how you've been conducting your life, how you've been conducting your thinking, you're going to start to recognize that you are actually in a position where you are creating your reality. So the reality that you're seeing around you is a byproduct of the way you have been predominantly thinking. That's a really simple way.
Too bad you wasn't in my house back in the days in the 80s.
Because?
Well, growing up in New York City, it's a very hostile environment, especially in the era that I grew up in the Bronx. Yelling was a very common thing, especially in my household. My mother was the type of person, still is to this day, that, yelling is her thing when she's not happy with herself or when things are too peaceful. It's like, it's narcissistic behavior. Now I know what it is, so I can identify it for what it is, but, it's narcissistic behavior in the sense that people want to find something wrong where there's nothing wrong.
Yeah, and part of that's really cool. That's actually really cool because we can tie that in nicely with entrepreneurs as well. With what I was talking about, but remember, as an entrepreneur, if you've been taught that you need to be suffering, sacrifice, and all that stuff, just like you're saying, this happens to entrepreneurs as well. When for some reason things seem to be moving nice and smoothly and effortlessly, and hey, I'm earning the income that I want to earn, and business is moving nicely and everything's working nicely, all of a sudden the entrepreneur is going, wait a second, this isn't supposed to be this way. I'm supposed to be suffering. This is too easy. And then they find themselves in one way or another either creating difficulty, just exactly like you're saying, looking for things to become difficult, or self-sabotaging, so that it does become difficult. So now I can say, oh, okay, good, I'm back. I'm learning. I'm back to the suffering again. It's difficult again. Things are back to normal.
Right.
So really, really interesting what you're saying there.
Yeah, and it's people that when things are going well, they're expecting something to go wrong because things are going all too well. My thing is, I used to do that a lot, and one thing I've come to the understanding of, especially from a spiritual perspective, is that when things are going well, I know that something is going to try to interfere with that. You know, some people may say it's demons, it's Satan, but I know that something is going to interfere with that. The difference now from what I understand back then is that when that thing does come, if it does, I'm going to be aware and prepared to deal with that in a state that has no fear. So whatever comes, I'm going to face it head on and I'm going to deal with it, nip it in the bud, you know, cancel it out, whatever I have to do with the positivity, with that energy that I have in me that I've been blessed with, those gifts and abilities, and with the understanding that it's always about living in the present moment. So even if something does happen that's not so good, it's only going to be there for a moment and I can deal with it in the present. It's not going to be my future. And it doesn't mean that I have to hold on to it when it happens, when it's in the past. I think a lot of entrepreneurs base their experiences based on their past. That's my next question too, because what do you think is one of the biggest roadblocks or struggles that an entrepreneur goes through just to start out, just to even start their business or to start their entrepreneurial journey?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, without a doubt, and I want to add something here that you've just mentioned as well, and it ties in very nicely as well. One of the biggest challenges is, again, the belief that going in as an entrepreneur, this is going to be a challenge. This is going to be difficult. Similar to those, so interesting what you're saying as well, and just note for yourself as well, ORRA. So if when things are going really well, you know that there's going to be something that's going to come in and attempt to interfere. All right. As you said, that's a belief. You have a belief that there is going to be something that's going to come and interfere. Remember, life's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a very good chance that is going to happen. Now, you also have the belief that you can handle it, which is wonderful as well. Yet you can begin to shift and say, listen, just because things are going really well doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to become something's going to come to interfere. Does that mean that some challenges are not going to come up potentially? Absolutely. The way I'd like to reframe that is that when challenges do come, and you're saying the same thing really, is that, you know what, that's a growth spurt. That's an opportunity for a growth spurt. It's a challenge. There's a way to get beyond it. I can do that in a very, let's say, peaceful way. I can still do that in a joyful way. If you really want to talk about success, and this is for any new entrepreneur that's listening, and for the challenges that new entrepreneurs go through, first of all, their challenges are no different than a seasoned entrepreneur, really and truly. A seasoned entrepreneur has a little more experience and does understand how to deal with a few things. So that just comes with experience. Yet the challenges are more or less the same. And one of the biggest challenges I would think for what I know for a new entrepreneur is doubt, is doubting themselves, not believing enough in themselves, thinking that, you know, what if this idea isn't good? What if I'm going to fail? What if, you know, and then on top of that, which is a real huge challenge for so many is, you know, and if it doesn't work out, what are other people going to think about me? What are other potential entrepreneurs going to think about me? And then all of a sudden, this entrepreneur is lost in thinking about what they think other people are going to think about them. When in actual fact, other people, as important as you may think you are, they're not thinking about you for the most part.
That's true.
Because they're the center of their own universe and they're dealing with their own stuff anyways. I remember that was a big challenge for me many, many years ago when I came to a point that one of my, at the time I had a retail shop. That was the first retail shop that I had ever opened. And I came to a point where I had to make a decision that I had to close. I held on to that shop for, I'd say, an extra 2 years before I actually let go of it, simply because I was thinking, oh man, you know, I can make this happen. You know, again, what are this is my baby, and what are other people going to think of me and this type of stuff. When in actual fact, when it came to, shutting it all down and all that, you move on to the next thing and you move forward. And this is really, really, I believe, really, really important for anybody in the entrepreneurial world, for those coming into it now. Understand that, you know what, you might not get it perfect from the get-go. At the same time, not getting it perfect is perfect in itself. It's perfect for what you require at this point in time in your life, potentially some of the lessons that you're going to learn, and how, excuse me, how you are going to move forward with that experience. I look back on many episodes in my life which have brought me to where I am here today. Like, nothing is happening by coincidence.
That is the truth.
Zero, nothing, absolutely nothing, zero is happening by coincidence. And one of the philosophies that I work by nowadays is that everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me. So if everything is always working out for me, that means even when something appears to be going wrong, it's still working out for me. It's still working out for me. It's right. Perfect. It only appears that way. And this is what is really, really, and this is where mindset definitely comes in, because the way I'm thinking is affecting everything that's happening outside of me. So if there happens to be a particular area outside of me that I'm not particularly happy with the result of, I need to see what's going on over here first, so that then I can have an effect on that. Yet right. most are waiting to see outside and go, oh, that's a really good thing. Now I can be happy. Now I can consider myself successful, whatever it is. They're waiting for that external thing to happen. When that external thing is only happens because of what's happening internally. Very true. I need to go internal. I'm not going to wait for that thing outside of me to make me happy. I can go internally. I can choose to be happy now. Right. And for any budding entrepreneur, what is your goal? And what is your goal in the sense of, think about it. What is it you want to accomplish? And this is for every single individual. Ultimately, anything you do in your life, whatever that is, you do it because by doing it, you believe that you're going to feel better by doing it, that you feel like you're going to be happy by doing it. That's it. That everything we do. Otherwise, you wouldn't even consider doing it. Now, if you're going to wait for that external factor, to see that external factor, for you then to decide, okay, now I can be happy. That's going to be a much longer road. Potentially you'll get there. You could potentially get there through sheer desire, sheer determination. You potentially could arrive. So you think, because you never arrive. You get there and then you go, oh, okay, now what? What if you could just choose right now and say, okay, can I go inside and can I decide to be happy now? And put yourself in a good feeling emotion, because your thoughts create the emotions. And then the emotions will lead to the actions and the behaviors. If I'm really in a good state and something happens that potentially could make me angry, but I'm in a good state, there's a very, very good chance that my behavior is not going to be the yelling, it's going to be a much more favorable behavior. And that is going to create a different result and a different experience. So this is why this is so important for entrepreneurs to understand. It's not about all the go that many have been taught. Like I said, sometimes it's actually about the slowing down. so that you can actually think.
Yeah, I agree, Ken. And that's what I was alluding to, is about the self-doubt. It's something that that I was going through just last month, and I sought counsel for it, was having the self-doubt about putting my TV channel out again and putting it out for good, you know, my TV network. And now that I've gotten over that self-doubt, I'm taking time to have patience to make sure that when I do put out and it started out, that it has everything that I want it to have, and then to continue to help it to grow. I think one of the biggest challenges for me with the self-doubt was, when I start my TV channel, are people going to subscribe to it? You know? And I was like, I don't want to start this TV channel and I have 0 subscribers, you know, and I'm over here paying a pretty penny to do something that I do love to do, but it's not generating enough income for me to sustain it, you know? And there's a lot of reasons why I got into that mindset. And part of it is because, you know, when I was telling you about how bad things are going to happen, it's kind of been my life, in the sense that I've always have haters. But what I've realized is why I finally, you know, getting more spiritually grounded, and for years now, you know, because even though God has been in my life since I was a kid and reading the Bible and stuff, I never really gravitated to it. It's always been there, you know, but I never really got rooted in the understanding of spirituality and of my faith like I have been doing for the past 5 years. And it steadily has increased. But what I've come to the understanding now is that I'm always going to have haters. It's nothing I can do about that. There's no button that I can press to stop that. But the reality that helps me in understanding this is that the hate that they have is not for me. Even they may give me a hard time, and it may come off as jealousy or envy, and that may be some of the things that are involved. It's really the lack of happiness they have within themselves. They really don't realize the potential within themselves. It's unrealized potential. And when I came to that understanding, it's been a lot better for me in dealing with that. And it could be anything. And I'm pretty sure you've dealt with this, where you can be somewhere or working somewhere, and there's always that person that wants to criticize you or try to sabotage you and stuff like that. And I've had a lot of different situations like that. And based on where I grew up, a lot of times you want to hurt that person. You want to make them stop. You're like, hey, maybe if I punch them in their mouth, they can't talk anymore. You know what I'm saying? That type of mindset. Now, I've gotten out of that mindset. Sometimes it takes me back there, but that's just the old man. And I battle with that sometimes, and I overcome it. But the thing is that, especially with the entrepreneurial work, like you were saying, there's a lot of subconscious things going on. Just like what I was telling you about my system, that I'm going to have to clean out my system and storage, because there's a lot of programs that are running and behind the scenes that I can't see, that's causing certain interferences with me wanting to do certain things on this, even on this broadcast, or when I'm trying to do some work and I'll press a button and it starts spinning. I hate that little buffering spin. And then I'm like, why hasn't that stopped? And it's because there's things running on in the background that are preventing that software or program from coming up and working properly. And a lot of times, just like how you got to clean out that storage and transfer it or delete certain files and stuff like that and do like a clean, we have to clean a lot of the things we've been taught. The lies. That's why I wanted to put this as a Legacy of Lies series, because the installment of this show, Why You're Not Thinking, is because of the lies that you believe, that you were taught as a kid. I have a family member that I talk about this particular situation. I'm not going to name who it is, But I have a family member that still believes that Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity by flying his kite with a key. You can laugh because, you know, when you think about a 50-something-year-old that still literally believes this and will argue with you about it. Well, why? Because that's what he was taught. He was taught that as a young kid. He accepted that as his truth, as the truth. And that's it. He ran with it. It's never changed. Even though, I mean, with everything that's out there, especially with the internet, you know that Benjamin Franklin didn't discover a damn thing. So that type of thinking, it's very well ingrained. It's indoctrinated thinking, but stuff that you've been taught as a kid. And what I've come to the understanding of since I was in my 30s is that everything I've been taught is a lie, especially in the United Shenanigans of America. And what I like about about what's happening right now, especially with this current administration, is that people, not a lot, but a nice amount of people steadily growing, are starting to realize this country's not great. This country's never been great. There's nothing special about this place. There's some great people that live here and have done some amazing things. But there's people doing amazing things all over the world. And there's a lot of better places like where you live that's better than the United States, you know?
Well, I don't think it's my competence to be able to say where, and as I said before, you know, where is better or not, and so on and so forth. I think it's truly up to.
That's my opinion, by the way.
No, I get you.
This place is not as cool as people think it is.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Yet, you know, what I think is important for people to understand, though, is that it's up to yourself. It really, truly is up to yourself. Now, I understand there are outside circumstances because then you have, again, various countries will vary when it comes to their collective consciousness as well. That's why you have certain countries that are constantly at war. Until that consciousness shifts, then you know that's going to continue to be that way. You know, and so as for the learning, and this is why I say it's really important when it comes to awareness. You know, nowadays, you know, when you talked about the information, for instance, I mean, like information is readily available. It's readily available. You have more information available to you in one day than my grandparents could have had available to them in a lifetime. In one day, you could have more information that my grandparents could have had available to them in a lifetime.
Right.
Let alone grandparents who were predominantly, you know, like imagine you were living on an island that's 120 square miles in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, going back into the 30s, 40s, when more than likely you probably never left the island.
Yes.
Your world is the island. The minute you move 60 miles north and land in Sicily, your world changes. Your world changes because the map has now, you know, the map has shifted. There's new territory now. So this is why awareness is so key, so that you are open to, that you are willing to actually learn. Yet many will still stay predominantly like, you know, this is what I know and this is what is best. When in actual fact, you don't know that it's actually the best. You know, you have the younger generation coming up as well, who are going to find many different ways to do things. You know, I talk about this a lot as well. You know, we give the young generation a hard rap many times because people talk about, you know, that the younger generation, they have this entitlement. They think they deserve this and they deserve that. And they don't want to work for stuff. They want to work less and they want to make more money and all of this stuff. Yet think about it. Is that such a bad concept that they want to work less and earn more?
But the sense of entitlement is not that great, though.
Well, we look at it as a sense of entitlement, and we can perceive it as that. Remember, there are many different perceptions. From their perception, they might be looking at it a totally different way.
Right.
They might look at it as deservability. This is what I believe I deserve. And again, so this is why we need to be open and looking at all of these things. and also, the younger generation, for instance, have realized, again, remember, it's the way we've been taught as well. This ties in with the way we've been taught. So I was taught, let's say my generation, for the most part, maybe not my generation, maybe one before it, but even my generation, we're taught, you go to school, you do whatever you got to do at school, and then you get a good job, and then you're very loyal at that job. And if that's a good job, you stay at that job for the rest of your life.
And retire.
Right? And retire. That's the way, that's the way.
And then die within 2 years after retirement.
Right. Well, the younger generation, that's like way out the window. Like, no, like I have a life outside of my job. Like the younger generation, like I have a life, I have a world outside. I want to travel. I want to earn good money so I can do things that I really, truly want to be doing. It's not just about, and then on top of that, you know what? I want to have a say on where I'm working, there's a certain type of culture there that is in line with what I believe in.
Absolutely.
Right. So, yeah. So this is very key. And this ties in very nicely. And I think this is key for any entrepreneur, especially entrepreneurs who are up and coming, is that they take time to actually, this would be one of the first things I do with an entrepreneur as they're going to start their business, is they take time to look at what their values are. What are the values that you say are most important to you?
Right.
Okay. So because if you say that, and I'm going to say that for the most part, most entrepreneurs start their business because they want freedom. They want financial freedom.
Yeah. I'm going to add on something to that too.
Yeah.
When you're done. Yeah. Okay.
They want financial freedom. They want time freedom. They want, they want to be able to be in control of their business. They say they want that, which is a value, freedom is a value. Wonderful. Now, are the decisions that you are taking within your business as you're going along in your business? Because once you've identified your core values, so for me, for instance, freedom is a very important value. Joy is a very important value. Authenticity is a very, very important value. Those three core values are extremely important to me. That's why I didn't have too much of an issue with the fact I got interrupted because the DHL guy was at the door or something like that in the middle of this, because that was just an authentic situation, circumstance that happened, and it happened. I don't need to get, all flustered or whatever like that. It's just because authenticity is a really important thing to me. I want to speak to you from the heart, truthfully. I want to have joy in everything that I do. I want to enjoy everything that I do. So when it comes to and I want to have freedom. So when it comes to the choices that I want to make, that I'm going to be making throughout my business, whenever I'm faced with a choice, a decision that needs to be made, if joy, if freedom, if authenticity is somehow compromised, if I take one way or another, if I make a decision in one way and that's one of those is compromised amongst others, I'm going to say it's going to be very easy for me to say, no, I don't need to. That's a no for me, because that's going to compromise my freedom. That's going to compromise my authenticity, whatever that may be. So very important for an entrepreneur to recognize what those values are, because I can guarantee you, as you move on in your entrepreneurial journey, you're going to be faced with certain decisions that you're going to be make, which could potentially compromise what you say is a value for you. And once you start to compromise those values, now this is where some of the issues like stress and all of these things start to come to light, because now you are incongruent with who you say you truly are and what you align with. I don't know what you wanted to add it, or you wanted to add something?
Well, you're making some great points. I just wanted to say that when I started my entrepreneurial quest in beginning of 2020, freedom and all that was a part of it, but very small. The dominating factor in why I decided to become an entrepreneur, it was a spiritual thing. It's like this whole network of awareness, I don't do it for me. I don't even do it for other people, even though it serves other people. I do it for the Most High. I do it for God. Like, That's why I do this.
Okay, so let me ask you this. And I agree with you. I get where you're coming from. You want to have an impact. Yet, I'm going to say this, and again, understand where it's coming from. You're always doing it for yourself. What do I mean by that, though? Hold on. Because so even when it comes to, let's say giving charity, for instance, doing charity work, because it makes you feel good.
Well, yeah, I agree.
You're serving your higher, the divine, or whatever you'd like to call it. It makes you feel good. So ultimately, you are doing it for yourself.
Yes. So let me reword that, because I am doing it for myself. But what I mean by that, not doing it for myself, meaning like I'm not doing it for myself so that I can feel so much better for myself or anything like that. It's not really, for me, it's not like that. I'm doing it because it's my purpose. Because when I was working to make money so that whatever my status was and how much money I made, that's what was determining how I felt about myself. So the more money I made, the better I felt about myself, which that's not what it's supposed to be like. But when I did it for a higher purpose, something far greater, that's when I made the shift. Now, since I made that shift, making the money has become, I would say, a little bit more of a challenge, because the empathy in me, sometimes I like to do certain things for free, where I don't want to put a money tag on everything I'm doing for somebody else, because then that limits me from actually doing it, because I'm setting some type of standard on how it has to be delivered, when the gifts and abilities that I have been given to me for free. So the gift and abilities that I'm giving back that come from God, I'm serving that purpose. But what I've also realized too is that everything takes time, and you have to have patience. It doesn't have to be where it happens right away. And the beauty the beauty that I've realized and what helps me to overcome some of the doubts and some of those negative thoughts is that I'm already wealthy. I'm already rich with a lot of things that don't necessarily tie into a piece of paper that has a number on it and some ugly face of an old ass president. You know what I'm saying? So as I progressed in that understanding, I'm able to grow more and more and more. Now, do I want to earn more income? Yes, but for the only reason is not so I could feel better about myself. It's so that I could do more with what I already got going on. That's the only reason. That's the only, and that's where I'm headed to right now.
Absolutely, to do things. So the way I like to look at it is when it comes to this as well. So, and again, I understand where you're coming from. Yet you have to have. So, are there times that I'll do stuff for free? Absolutely. Will I do everything for free? No.
Well, you can't.
And the reason is you can't, because the reason is that and the reason is as well is that it would compromise my value. Like it's going to compromise my values as well. Right. One of the things that a lot of people get caught up in this thing as well. And when it comes to spirituality, and who's to say that, like I truly believe that everything material is still spiritual.
Right.
And what do I mean by that?
Yes.
Everything's spiritual because it starts from here first anyways.
That's right.
It all starts from here first, right? All right. And you're doing things from the heart, which is absolutely wonderful, and you're having an impact. And you deserve to earn what you deserve to earn. Now, it's remember, what you are transmitting out is what you are going to receive back. It's inevitable when we are truly at a point where we truly believe in ourselves, in our capabilities, in what we have to offer, and what we're offering. And that's really coming like from the heart, like you said. When we're doing that, the money and all that stuff and the material stuff, again, that is a byproduct of what your beliefs are. So if your beliefs are still having a challenge with the fact that, you know what, I'm not sure if I should, because I have this gift to teach or whatever it may be. And, and this came to me from, it did come to you from the divine, gave you these gifts. Yet at the same time, I'm certain that you've put in a lot of time and effort to learn, to hone in on those capabilities, to be able to have a way to be able to deliver those capabilities. You've put a lot of time into learning. And this is the thing, like I can look back and say, like, I've been an entrepreneur and dabbling in personal development for over 20 years plus. During those 20 years plus, there's my experience in there. There's the investments I made in there to learn so that then I can pass those on. So now I've come to a point where, I understand, what, I deserve to earn that, because this is one of the say roots of all evil is deservability for many people. So it has nothing to do with money, the roots of all evil. Okay. It's deservability. Many people think, oh, but do I deserve to be this successful? Do I deserve to be making all of this money? That's one of the things. And then it's also trusting, like, it's going to come, man. It's going to come when you really trust yourself. So that doubting, getting rid of that doubt and trusting yourself, because you trust everything's working out perfectly. You're trusting in the divine. Now, will the divine ever let you down? Never, ever, 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 when you truly trust in it. So what are you emitting? What are you transmitting? Am I transmitting doubt so that I receive things back more about doubt? Or am I transmitting, I trust this is going to work out perfectly? Now, it's practice like anything else, man. Like one of the first I said in the bio, like I'm a human just like you. So I'm learning as I go along the way as well. I just may now have learned certain things where I don't need to dwell in something too long anymore. Exactly like you were saying as well. And recognizing as well. And I'd like to just add this, but I don't have to have a belief. Let's use haters. Okay. Cause that came up, right? Are there people out there who are, that's what they're aligned with? That
unrealized potential, right? It's their problem.
They're aligned. That's where they are right now, and that's okay. But also recognize, though, that if my mind is going to, that there are haters out there, and it's predominant. There's that thought here and there, and it's predominant. There's a very good chance that I am going to encounter with that. Right. So this is what's really important to understand when we're facing these things. When these challenges come up, the first things I say to myself is this. I take responsibility and I say, what was my part in this? What are my beliefs in this? What have I been thinking about this? What was my part in this? And then what can I learn from this? What can I do differently? What can I think differently? So if, for instance, and 100%, I agree with you 100%, if you want to talk about haters or people who are criticizing or not, let me tell you what that is for the most part. It's a cry for love. It's a cry for love.
Right.
And that's the only way they know how to do it.
Yeah, because it's coming from a deep sense of insecurity.
Yeah. So they're saying, man, I am hurting so bad. I'm hurting so bad. So what's the beautiful part when you really start to learn about what your core essence is? What your core essence is. Now I can look beyond the body of ORRA and I can say, you know what? The essence of ORRA, or any individual I'm speaking with or in front of, is exactly the same as mine. It's no different. It's pure love, your true essence. So now I look beyond that and I recognize and I go, wow, this person's really hurting. This is a cry for love. This is a real cry for love. Now, coming back to what we were talking about before, what could my response be rather than a reaction? How could I potentially show this individual that I'm recognizing that this is a cry for love? And how could my response potentially be different? Sometimes It's just being silent. Sometimes it's whatever it may be. But now we're talking about something so beautiful. is understanding like your true essence, who you are. You know, we hear about the divine and tapping into the divine, and some people call it source, some people call it source energy, some people call it God. I like to call it, what the phrase that I've coined it is the umami self. And let me explain that, why I call it that. And for those of you who understand umami in the food world, umami is when you eat something that is so delicious, like so good, like it's indescribable. There's no words to say, like, oh man, this just like tastes like, and it's indescribable. In fact, the definition of umami is the essence of deliciousness. It's the essence of deliciousness. So when I was thinking about this, and I said, you know, and so for me, the umami self is the essence of the deliciousness of who you truly are, who you really are. Because who you really are is that you can call it your soul, that true essence, which is no different than the divine. To me, for me, and again, this is my opinion, there's no separation. You are the divine. You are one and the same when you truly tap into it. What has happened to the majority of people is that have become separated. So this world is all about separation. It's the good, it's the bad, it's the on, it's the off, it's the light, it's the dark. It's all about this separation and the individual being the unique individual and separate from everybody else. Yet it's somewhat of an illusion. This is why I tell entrepreneurs, they're looking at their reality and going, oh man, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this isn't good, and this isn't good, and this isn't good. And they're so focused on all of those things that aren't good that they can't see the good. It's because that's now it's become so ingrained, it's part of their beliefs. It's become, and we have in the brain something called the reticular activating system, the RAS. So essentially outside of you at any given point in time, you've got an infinite amount of information available to you. It's incomprehensible, the amount of information that's available to you, you know, and it's all coming towards you. So somehow that has to be filtered. And that's filtered by your RAS so that you can comprehend it. Yet, how does the RAS know what to leave out and what to let in? And it knows that according to what your beliefs are. So that's why you could have two people who see an accident and they describe it differently.
Right.
They just describe it differently.
Well, it's even like that in the scriptures too, with disciples that describe their experiences with Christ.
There you go. It's the same thing. So it's no different than, for instance, a woman gets pregnant and now she starts to see pregnant women everywhere. Or you buy the latest model of car model, and then you start to see that model everywhere. Well, because now that's become part of your belief system. So you start to see it. So this is what a lot of times just needs to shift, is that I'm in my business. There are a number of things that aren't working the way I'd like to, but there are a number of things that are working. And if I look at those things that are working and say, wait, but this is working really well, and this is working really well. Now, as I start to see that and I start to comprehend that, you know what, there are good things in my business. There are good things in the world. There are good things in my country, right? Now I can start to have an effect on the other things that aren't going really well. Now my experience starts to shift. It starts to shift. No different than, do you know anybody who complains all the time? They get rid of one piece of crap.
Oh, yeah.
And
well, that's what I was talking about earlier.
Another one just comes right in because that's what they're aligned with.
That's right.
That's what they've learned.
That's the type of energy I don't like being around.
But for some reason, it gives them value. So,
Right.
And just to add to that with, the type of energy people don't want to be around, and I get it. Like, I understand. Again, I will always bring it back to myself, even if I know that I'm going to be walking into something that potentially I know is not going to be exactly what, where I would like to be, maybe. But the question I like to, and let me give a cool example of this, which I think a lot of people can understand, is sometimes we're going to have family gatherings where potentially I'm like, do I want to be there? Do I not want to be this? You have these things. Yet the question always remains this: what am I bringing to the table? What energy am I bringing to the table? So that then I can be the one who has an effect on the rest of the energy, rather than making a decision to allow others to affect my energy. What am I bringing to the table? How am I going to come to this? Am I going to be the one who's going to stay up, keep my energy levels up no matter what? Because if I look at each and every individual as the same as me at their core, I'm no better than anybody else, and nobody else is better than me. And I come with that energy that I'm gonna keep myself in a joyful state. Yes, and things might be said, so be it. Things may happen, so be it. It is what it is. Yet at my core essence, can that have an effect essentially on my joy? Only if I allow it to. Only if I allow it to. Right. And it happens. Don't get me wrong. I find myself getting angry sometimes. I find myself going, oh man, why did that guy do that? Or what? I get that. Yet now, more than ever, and this is with practice, man, like anything else, I catch myself, and I catch myself very quickly, and I laugh at it. What's the sense of taking, really, do we need to take this life too seriously? Too seriously. A lot of times, I remind people, man, remember to laugh every single day. One way or another, find a way to laugh every single day. And really, really important, especially when you can laugh at yourself. Like I go, oh, that was dumb. Like, okay, what were you thinking there, Ken? Okay, or something happened and I go, well, that wasn't the outcome I wanted. Okay, so be it, and move on, man. Like, most of the stuff that happens anyways, and correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, 5 years down the road, maybe not even 5 years, could be a year down the road, you're going to look back and laugh anyways. So why the hell wait? You might as well laugh now.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes, though, it's hard, though, right? It's hard to laugh at a situation that's so serious that's coming at you.
Absolutely. I get that. I get that.
I had a very, I wouldn't call it very traumatic, but it was somewhat traumatic experience of being gaslighted and purposefully. But I laugh it off now, and I've laughed it off with other people that realized what was going on at the time, because what you mentioned earlier, where these people, they're crying out for love. They're trying to demonize you so much, and they're trying to destroy you, literally, or trying to make you feel less than. They want you to kind of feel like dumb, but it's a cry for help. And a lot of times we'll retaliate and give them that same energy, which is not good. Or we could choose to not say nothing at all, right? Or you could come from a place of love and be like, hey, I still love this person, even though they're a piece of crap. I still got love for them because I know that their issue.
But you can't, wait a second. But you can't say I love this person even though they're a piece of crap.
Being a piece of crap in the way that they're behaving, right?
They're behaving.
The way that they're behaving. That's
a whole different.
All right.
Yeah.
That's my mindset. Is like the way that they're behaving, they're being a piece of crap. So, you could just offer to help them or just leave them alone. And hope that they change, and that's what I did with a particular situation. And I'm extremely better for it. And the way it played out, because this thing happened Now we're going on about 9 or 10 months ago. This thing happened 9 months ago. But since it's happened and I made that choice to be like, hey, all good, no problem. That's a you problem, not a me problem. I'm going to keep it moving. My life has been great from that point on. Because a lot of times there's certain people that you're around and that you're dealing with that you shouldn't be dealing with. And life and life is going to show you that. Like life is going to be like this person that you have in your life is not the type of energy you need to where your mind is at and where you need to go with that and how it's going to serve you well.
That's exactly it. So also like, so in interactions like that, there's a time. So you came together with these people for some reason because there was some sort of, let's say that there was a connection in one way or another. There was an alignment in one way or another. And that happens. This happens in couples too.
Right.
Yet sometimes it comes to a point where now we're no longer serving each other. That's all. We're just no longer serving. This doesn't mean I'm right, you're wrong, I'm better than you, you're better than me. None of that. Listen, we're no longer serving each other. So it's probably in the best interest of both of us that we go our separate ways. Simply because we're no longer serving each other. We're just not on the same wavelength for whatever reasons they are. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be because someone's right, someone's wrong, and all of these things. And I want to make it really clear as well, when these things, because things do happen, I get it. And let's say bad things happen. Again, everything's always working out for you. Yet, and it is still important. There are times when, yes, we do have to speak up. I'm not saying never to speak up or to just always remain silent. Far from it. There's a way of speaking up though. So, and you mentioned something that is really, really important for me to attack back would make me no different than the person that I believe is attacking me.
So now that's the truth.
I'm doing nothing different. I'm doing nothing different than that person. So now it's understanding how can I respond in a different way, coming from truly a place of peace, if possible, a place of love, where I just recognize that, okay, this is what's happened. This is how I feel about it. This is, and you know what? Maybe it is time for us to just go our separate ways and you just let that be. Because then once you move away from it as well, and you're not giving it more energy, because people will attack right back. And if I attack someone back, first of all, I've given my power away.
Right.
I've given my power away. That's what they wanted me to do in the first place, more than likely anyways.
That is true.
And now I've given them the power to just attack back again. And you just keep going, and you can just keep going in that cycle, keep going in that cycle, keep going in that cycle.
Right.
Yet this is why I love personal development and starting to understand this, and starting to understand who you really are at your core. Your core, nothing to do with that at all. Yet the majority of people, and again, and I say this with the utmost love and all that, and not because anything's bad. People are just on their path. They're on the path that they're on. The majority of people, that's not how they look at it. They look at that everything is outward. Everything is outward. Everything is based on, like you said, my success is based on what the material stuff that I do have. Not that I'm saying that there's anything wrong with the material stuff. Far from it. Far from it. Yet it's all based on that. And it's based on what people are saying about me. And if people are saying good things about me, then okay, I'm successful. I'm good. The thing is this though, you're just reaching for external validation. The minute that tide turns and someone's not saying good things about you, all of a sudden you're going to go, uh-oh, my identity has been compromised now. Now I'm no longer worthy.
And that's what they're hoping for. The people that are saying bad things about you, they're hoping that you get
potentially, yes,
deeply rooted in that belief of yourself or that mindset for yourself. That's the goal. Is to get you to be like, oh my God, my world is crumbling. I need to kill myself.
And the amazing thing is the only reason they want to do that is because they just don't think that they're worthy.
Exactly. They want you to be where they're at. They want to see you suffer.
Yeah.
Like they're suffering.
I understand that, Yeah. So if I begin to understand, this is why mindset is so beautiful, and understanding this is if I truly understand that, then there is no real action that anybody can take that can ever affect my worthiness.
Right.
Because I know that my worthiness is intact always. It can never be compromised, because that's your true essence. Your true essence is pure love, bliss, worthiness, all of these things. Mm-hmm. So once I can recognize and begin to truly learn this, then anything external is not going to affect that. It could, and as you're learning and you're going along the process, you know, you could get that bump, and you go, oh, well, but it's very quick. It's very quick, and you go, wait a second, no, this has nothing to do with this.
That's when you say this.
Please just tell me what's happening to me in plain English without the mumbo jumbo.
Because it's all mumbo jumbo. It really is. It's all mumbo jumbo, you know, and a lot of what comes out their mouths and what they're thinking too. I remember Bob Proctor being a Canadian, like yourself. Yeah. He passed away, you know. Yeah.
But, I think a year ago or something, 2 years ago, year and a half ago.
Over a year ago. Yeah, a year and a half ago. But one of the things he says, he goes, you know, if we really would take a look at what people are thinking, it wouldn't be that great. And a lot of times you would also see, if we were able to look into people's minds, we would see that a lot of people are not thinking at all. They are just operating off of the external things that are being fed to them by the powers that shouldn't be, that are in control of this world, in as far as what the laws, the commercial, the industry, what's projected on that, what we're on right now, which is that television screen. And whatever they're saying is like that. You need to look like this. You need to be doing this. That's why every time you see a YouTube video, there's somebody coming out, a Lamborghini or Bugatti, and saying, hey, you want to be like this? You want to have girls? You want to have cars? You know, that's why a lot of people think that Andrew, you know, a lot of people worship Andrew Tate. He's considered to be like the prophet of the modern age. And what I educate people on this network is that he really isn't. He's projecting a lifestyle that is based on illusion. It's a fantasy, and he's trying to feed it to you with truth, but at the same time lying to you at the same time. Because guess what? Having a lot of cars is not going to make you feel good about yourself at the end of the day. It's false.
So what is really key here? So really, really key, and I agree with you. If someone takes one thing away today and they get this is really cool. So there's nothing wrong in having a lot of cars. There's nothing wrong in having a lot of material stuff. The challenge is when you are attached to them.
But let me say this. Aren't you attached to them? Because I'm going to put it to you like this. If I get a lot of cars, number one, okay, let's really look into this. If I buy a lot of cars, am I driving all of them? No. What the hell do I need a lot of cars for? But the fact that I'm getting so many, I am attached to it, because the mindset that compelled me to even want to get the second, third, fourth, and fifth, there is an attachment there to the yearning of wanting to get the second, third, or fourth, or fifth car. And hear me out on this.
So what I would do is before I would let's say determine what is, because I need to be absolutely certain about that. So in the sense, what I'm saying here is that, so maybe this person wants, and again, I don't know the person or anything like that. So potentially they just want to collect cars, and they get a certain joy out of collecting cars. Right. Let's say that gives them joy. Which is fine, because we're all about living in this world you can have that joy. Now, knowing whether or not you have an attachment to them, my question would be, if those cars were gone today, would you still be joyful? Right? That's the question I would be asking. Would you still be joyful? Would you still feel complete? Would you still feel worthy? Would you still, this is what I'm saying. And now we're using this extreme. This happens, like I said, even in relationships. So, someone needs to feel complete when they have their partner. If their partner's not in their life, they say, I'm not complete. Well, that's false. You are complete as you are, worthy as you are. Your partner doesn't make you complete. Your partner doesn't make you happy. That's the attachment to it. And this is what I suggest, never be attached. Does it mean that your partner is not going to complement your life? Absolutely.
Yeah, they're a
and
bonus.
You complement each other. Absolutely. Yet your happiness does not depend on your partner. That's an attachment. That becomes codependency. And that's literally, so the minute one of the partners is no longer in the picture, and that will happen at some point in time, whether it's through a separation or whether it's through death.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, I'm not worthy anymore. I'm not complete. That's a fault. And again, how do people get programmed with that? I mean, look at the greeting cards, look at the love songs, look at all this stuff. This stuff feeds people's minds. Yet it's valid. Now, how powerful is it when I can turn to my partner and say, listen, you know what? My happiness does not depend on you. So you do not have to carry that burden around with you your entire life. And vice versa. It's very, very powerful stuff, because now the other person knows, hey, his happiness doesn't depend on me, because you know what? I'm going to come home one day and it's been a bit of a rough day and I really don't feel like conversation, or I'm feeling a bit down or whatever. I don't have to feel like I have to come home and I have to stay happy so that I keep this other person happy.
Right.
It's so very, very important. So the attachment, this is what I want to mean by this. And I think this is really important to understand, or is that, like I said, I really want to tie this in, because I want each and every person here to have everything that they want to have in their life, to have the joy they want to have in their life. I want them to understand that everything external of them is not going to give them that. It doesn't mean you can't have it. Just understand that it's very powerful. That, how powerful is it that I have a car, or I have two cars, for instance, and I see someone in need of a car, and I can just go to them because I'm not attached to my car. Okay, here, have the keys to my car. It's yours, right? Because I'm not attached to it. Like my success, my worthiness doesn't depend on it. Have the car. It's going to serve you, right? And in my mind, I know, coming from an abundant mindset rather than lack, because lack is what sets in for so many people. Coming from an abundant mindset, it's okay. I can, at some point, I'll get another car or whatever it is, or there's nothing missing in my life. There's nothing missing in my life. But most people are coming from a lack where they seem to feel like they're giving up something, like there's not enough for everybody. Like there's this proverbial pie of abundance that, everybody's trying to get a slice of this pie and there's not enough. When abundance, there's always enough. You can't take a slice of abundance pie away from the pie. You're always left with abundance. It's
I like
never
that
ending.
analogy and that metaphor you're using, because it's really, really true.
It's never ending. It's never ending. So if you don't have the attachment to whatever it is you have in your life, because your joy starts up here, like it's the journey, like as much as a cliche as it is, like I get it, it's a cliche, but it's all about the journey. It's all about enjoying this moment. You want to talk about purpose? My purpose in life right now is this conversation you and I are having.
Well, because you're living in the present. We're present right now.
Nothing else.
Nothing else matters but what's happening right now.
Yeah. Now, when I move away from here, I'll deal with the next thing.
Now you got to go deal with the DHL.
DHL guy. That'll be my purpose in life. Right? That'll be my purpose in life.
Right.
And then I go later on and I'm going to meet up with my girlfriend, and that'll be my purpose in life. I come home, or I'm using different scenarios here. You go home and now you came home from work and you're at home and you're with your kids. That's your purpose in life. And you go from one moment, I'm at the supermarket and I'm at the cashier and I'm paying the cashier. My purpose in life now is my interaction with this cashier. How am I showing up at the table?
Right.
Am I making this cashier's day a better day? Or am I walking away from them, making them feel like crap? You want to talk about purpose, right? Or have I walked away making them feel better? One of the things that I look at in my life, for my life, is saying, you know what? I want to make it a point that whoever I interact with throughout the day, when I walk away, that person is feeling better about themselves as much as possible than before we started. If I can do that, I'm a happy camper.
Right. Well, Ken, you brought out a lot of great substance, a lot of great points in this broadcast on why you are not thinking. And I really want to thank you for coming on to Network of Awareness and sharing, your abilities, your understandings, and, the work that you do as a mindset consultant. Now, for people that are listening, Ken has a website that's in the description page. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to put your social media handles in there. You got LinkedIn, Instagram, so people can watch you on those videos you do from Malta, and as well as your Facebook page. But your website, for those that are listening, let's pull it up here. I have it on the description page. Ken's website is called adaptandpivotnow.com. So if you want to learn more about what Ken is doing, go to adaptandpivotnow.com. And if you're acquiring consultation and coaching from Ken. The other thing, Ken, is I always allow my guests to have any final words or comments that they want to leave the listeners with before we end the broadcast. So is there anything you want to leave the listeners with? Last thing.
Well, what I would leave with, and just to mention as well, with regards to the adaptandpivotnow.com, just so that your listeners know, that is a free masterclass that they can get. There's a free masterclass that they can get. And if there was something that I would like to leave people with, is this, and I really believe that people don't hear this enough, is that, wherever you are, whoever you are, there really is nothing about you to fix. You are beautiful as you are. You're amazing as you are. Whatever's going on in your life, good, bad, not so good, as you're perceiving it, is exactly where you are meant to be right now, trusting that everything is working out for you. And you're just beautiful the way you are. Remember that who you are is already beautiful. You're worthy. And not only that, you have all of the resources that you require within to achieve all that you want to achieve. Find ways to feel good throughout the day. Even just thinking about your favorite food will make you feel good. Take that moment, feel good. And the more you begin to feel good, the more you will begin to feel good. And from one moment will lead to another. And that's all it's about. And then all of a sudden, you've had a ton of feeling good moments and the day is done. And it was a feeling good day. And then the days become the weeks become the months, the years, and it becomes a feeling good lifetime. And that, I believe, each and every one of you has the capability of doing.
Absolutely. Words of wisdom, Ken. Thank you. And stick around for just a moment, and we're going to end this broadcast. So, as always, brothers and sisters that are tuning in, I hope that this episode on why are you not thinking has brought you great substance. And as always, when you live in the present, there is always an opportunity for a new beginning. So be present and start your new beginning on life and live in abundance, like Ken said. And lastly, don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is and always will be within you. So light up the tunnel and find your way through the darkness. This is ORRA the Informationalist with Ken Attard. All right. And and saying peace, love, and light, and all praises to the Most High. Peace, brothers and sisters.
Nobody having that knowledge. Waking up in a different light, got my mind right. It took me time and time and time just to put it together. You know you not learning nothing when you second guessing, because it all lies. They put us in school for 12 years plus. Got the nerve to give us a paper certificate. I've been watching quite some time. Finally, that I see what's going on. Every time that I lay down, yeah, I feel sad.
I'll start out my morning run about 6 o'clock. Not like I got a choice. It's just it's rough.
Trapped in a world where they don't want how you learn. No, they want everybody the same. They don't want to see that proper growth and development.